Hello, hello, hello. Happy Saturday, y'all. Welcome to the Success Code Fireside Chats, where business meets conscious leadership and real talk. I turned it around because I want to disrupt. Okay, so today, first of all, I want to welcome all of you who are going to join us, and those of you who are watching the replay. This is a show where we want to debunk the success lies that we've been told. So, I have lies that I've been told. My guests have lies that they've been told. And we just want to bring a different conversation into the space so that you can make a decision for yourself what success gets to look like. You know, we've been told, especially in America, that success is the big house, the white picket fence, the big cars, all the things. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's great if that's your true definition of success. And so we want to bring this conversation to the forefront so that you get to make decisions that are aligned with who you are and who you choose to be, not from a space of programming, for lack of a better word. Okay, so on this show, we really go deep, and I want you to, even if you're watching on the replay, I want you to post your comments, post your questions. If anything that we say, kind of like have you thinking, put it in the comments. I'll come back in and I'll respond to you. So don't be afraid of that. You get to be visible. That's part of this, right? That's part of this whole process. Because we're on YouTube, because we're on Facebook, as entrepreneurs, that doesn't mean that you can't be visible with your words. So I'm going to invite you into that as well. So today we have one of my great friends. Her name is Lady Jen Duplessis. And Lady Jen is, she's fun, she's energetic, she is a serial entrepreneur, she's a grandma, and
oh boy.
I love being in her space because I always learn something from her, especially because she's been in this world transforming lives for a long time, and this is her mission. This is where she thrives. So I'm super excited to be in this conversation today. We're going to be talking about.
I love Fireside Chat. I love this. This is so good.
Yeah,
we don't know what we're going to talk about. Well, maybe.
We don't know what we're going to talk about.
We know what you're going to ask.
I love it. So we're going to be diving into the idea of the high cost of looking successful. You know, been there, done that, right? So y'all know what I tell you. When I say this is real talk, this is real talk. I'm not going to come in here and give you theory. I'm going to speak from experience, and I'm going to speak from the experience of my mentors that I trust. And so, again, the intention is for you to decide for yourself what the success get to look like, right? Because if you're human and you've been playing the game the way we've been taught to play the game, it's probably not working for you. And this is a wake-up call, right? This is a wake-up call. So I want to introduce, I already introduced Lady Jen, and I want her to jump in and just say a few words about herself. And then I'm going to ask her the question that I ask all my guests. The first question that I ask all my guests is, what does success mean to you? Lady Jen?
Cool. Good. Well, thank you. First of all, I just want to say happy business week. We're at the end of the business week. Today's the last day of business week, small business week. So I first want to say thank you about that, and congratulate you for being a small business, if you are a small business. So first of all, that. Secondly, happy Mother's Day. Right?
Yes. Happy Mother's Day, Jen. Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah, we're going to be on the boat tomorrow. First, we're going to go to church. We're almost excited about bloopers at church. So as you know, I'm Catholic, right? So we lost our Pope. We didn't have a Pope, and now we have a new. And it's so funny because, and it's not just us Catholics, like the whole world, right? But at Mass, they always say Pope Francis in a couple of the prayers. And then the last couple of weeks, it's been Pope. Oh, and then they have to kind of redirect themselves, and because they can't say a Pope because there is no Pope. And then
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow, this week, I'm so excited to see if he messes up. It's almost like, Catholic Mass bloopers, to see if he goes, Pope, what's his name? Leo. Yeah, Leo. But it'll be interesting to see, so yeah, it's just, and it's a real exciting time. There's a lot of change going on in the world right now, a lot of change in our lives personally, that I won't be talking about today, but yeah, we just have a lot of change going on. And I think that, I don't know, for some people it's not good, and for some people it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, you and I've talked about this. We're both faith-based. So, please let us be us today, right? So I'm going to say some things that are faith-based, but, God gives us the power to look
Absolutely. Let's
at things, right? For positive things. And if we look at negative things, that's what we're going to bring to our world. So I want to be looking at positive, finding a positive in something, because it elevates us, right? Yeah, absolutely elevates it. So, yeah, so we're going to go to Mass, and then we're going to go on the boat tomorrow. So we'll be lounging on the boat tomorrow. How about you? What are you doing?
You know, um, because my son isn't here with me and my grandson, they both live in Nevada. I'm probably going to treat myself to a spa day.
Oh, there you
He
go. You
actually sent
should.
me flowers yesterday. So he calls me up. He goes, "Did you get the package?" I'm like, "What package?" Because usually when he sends me a package, he tells me, "Mom, I sent this," right?
Right. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
in
yeah.
my building, I usually get a text when there's a package, a big
Yeah.
package waiting, and they put it in a specific place. So he calls me up yesterday and he goes, "Did you get the package?" I'm like, "What package?" So then when I went to get the package, it was the flowers. So he sent me flowers. I'm like, "Oh my God, my son
Oh,
sent me
that's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, that's
so
good. Well, I can't wait. I hope I get something tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see. I don't
Yeah,
know. We'll
yeah,
see.
yeah.
But I never expect anything. It's always just, if I can spend time with them. But actually, I won't see anybody at all. So, and
Okay.
they're
Yeah,
all doing different things,
their
and
own thing.
we're just going to go on the boat. Yeah, my
Yeah.
daughter and her husband are doing renovations, so that's what they're doing. And yeah,
Mhm.
that's what I want to do. Thank you very much. I'll see you later. Yeah. Okay, well, I'll get back to answering your question.
Yeah, so Jen, so what, and this is a perfect segue too, right? Like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
what's your definition of success?
Yeah, yeah. So for me, let me tell you what it isn't, and then I'll tell you what it is. And I'm going to tell you a
Wait,
little
wait,
bit of
wait,
this.
wait. Hold on. As long as you're gonna tell me what it is for you.
I will. Oh, I totally will. I totally will. But I'm going to
Okay.
tell you what it isn't for me as well.
Okay.
Years ago, and many of you may remember this, many of you may not. Years ago, when we all had bag phones, right? I mean, literally, we carried them around our shoulder, and we unzipped it, and we plugged it into the lighter thing, which I don't even know if are in cars now. The lighter thing, and put that in a car, and then we could talk on the phone. And we thought we were bad, all great people. And what else was really popular? Beamers, right? They didn't call them BMWs, they call them Beamers. Like, I have a Beamer, I have a Beamer, right? And this is when the guys wore suspenders. You remember that? They wore suspenders. And but one of the things that everybody had that I just was dying to have was a Mont Blanc pen. I was dying to have this
Oh.
thing. I mean, it was like, ooh, you're somebody when you pull out a Mont Blanc pen, right? And back then I think they were about $199. And I was just aching to have this Mont Blanc pen. And all I could talk about is this Mont Blanc pen. Every time I
Mhm.
saw it with somebody, it would make me so angry because they had it, and I want it. I want what they have. And so I finally got my Mont Blanc pen. I finally got it. I had arrived. And I remember opening it up at the house, and ooh, it was in a kitchen. And funny, I wouldn't even care because some people carry in their little pocket thing, guys did, girls would just throw it in their purse. I carried it in its little velvet thingy because I was so special, right? It was so special. And I would get it out in front of my clients. And I was in the mortgage business. I get it out in front of my
Mhm.
clients, and I open it up in front of my clients sitting at the desk. And I'd pull it out and it would have that silk lining, where it was cradled in. And I'd pull it out
Mhm.
and I'd unscrew the top and I'd go like this and make sure that they saw I was, I have arrived. You know your work. Do you know who I am? Do you know who you're working with? Because I have a Mont Blanc pen, right?
I love it. I
And,
love
and
it.
so
Oh
I'm
wow.
doing this for a long time, da 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 da. Well, I had used it so many times, and they screw off. They don't pull off; they screw off. But I think the threads got bad, so I'm sitting there and I can't get it open, right? And now I'm embarrassed because I'm trying to portray this image of this Mont Blanc pen, and I'm going, and I'm talking, and I can't get it done. So I decide I'm going to yank it open. And when I yanked it open, all of the ink went on my face, on my hair, on my teeth, like landed in my teeth. I didn't go, landed on my teeth, it landed on my face, my hair, my suit, my chest, everything. And I was so embarrassed. Right? I mean, there are some times when you've been so embarrassed that you don't want to recall it. Right? You're
Mm,
just like, I don't want to recall that moment. I was so embarrassed. And I think I was more embarrassed about the fact that I was trying to be and now I wasn't. You caught me. You caught me, right? Because I was trying to have the facade and you
mm,
caught me. And it was so funny because in that moment I was like, okay, this is not success. And by the way, the ink was on, oh my gosh, it was on my hands for so long. And I had to keep reliving the story and telling people, but it was then that I recognized this was years ago. I was probably 27, 28. I'm now
mhm,
61. I
mhm.
was like, this is not
What's the
success.
61 girl?
Yeah, I have got to find, I have got to find a different, a different dream to go to, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, I was like, that is not success no more for me. So ever since then, whenever I hear someone say, what does success mean to you, I think the important thing, and I'm going to tell you what it is to me, for me it's, and I talk a lot about harmony, but it's harmony and freedom and choice, right? um,
Mhm,
it's all of those things, the ability to not be tethered to anything except for my
mhm,
family, right? Because I don't want to be tethered to anything in business that would trap me, keep me obligated, to a point where I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that anymore, right? Like there's nothing that I want to be tethered, that I could always have the choice to go spend time with my family, to go spend the time, time on the boat, to go dance. I love dancing, to go look at our horse, to go, go to the vineyard, right? Anything, go travel, whatever I want to do, go to mass, serve people. I serve communion to hospice and homebound people, but I want freedom of choice of my time. That's success for me.
That's powerful. That's powerful. And that's what I think we're all going after, right?
Yeah.
I think we're all going after that freedom.
Hmm.
Um, and at the same time, I feel like we forget it's a choice,
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
You know how everybody always says, I have to do this, I have to do
have
that,
to
have to. And what does everybody say now? Because it's a big thing. You don't have to, you get
get
to.
to.
But I think there's a third choice. You choose to,
Yes.
right?
I
It's
used to
even,
have a talk that I used to do. I haven't done it in a while, talking about the power of choice. Listen, talk about currency. That's the
yes.
most
Yeah.
valuable currency any human being has, is the
Yeah.
choice to say yes or no to anything.
Yeah.
You get to choose, which is the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
That's how you come back to your values. That's how you come back to yourself, is you get to choose it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's
That,
about learning a lot of things to get to that point. So can you share with us any, just one little tip maybe about how you unlearned so much. That was a great example with the pen, right? And by the way, as you talked about the pen, because I'm Jamaican, it was normal for us to do, and I'm listening to you, right? And I'm going, oh my gosh, that pen blood. But for me, when I was growing up, being in Jamaica, that pen that you just talked about was like the norm. That was
Yeah,
the pen used in high school. So you see what I'm trying to say now?
yeah,
How
oh, yeah.
definition of success can be so,
So
you know,
different for so many people. Yeah,
exactly. Because for me,
yeah,
that was normal. For you, that
yeah.
was, oh my God, this, we used to call it a
Oh,
fountain pen. That's what we used to call it.
right, I had
Yeah.
arrived. Look at me. Right.
We used to
Yeah.
call it a fountain
And then
pen.
watch me fall down the stairs, right? I mean, it was all at the same time, right? Right.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. I want to tell you another quick story. So, my mom and I were talking, this was, some years ago, probably around 2000, between 2000 2005. And we had been, doing really well in business and everything. And so we decided to buy a new house, and we bought the most expensive house in our town, right? It was like and we were like, wow, we didn't even know, right? It was the most expensive house in our town, and it was $335,000, right? This is in 2000. A house is well over a million now, it all goes up. But we didn't know that, right? And I was talking to my mom, and I said, well, we're going to Hawaii. Our son's playing, Kirk was playing baseball for the United States in Hawaii, and it was the first time we were going to go. And we're going in a couple weeks, coming up now, because now Brian's from there. He was raised there. And so we're talking about, oh, we're going to go here, and then we're going to go down, we bought a condo down at Myrtle Beach. And so we were like, oh, we're going to go there. And then, the Whitney's going to this and this, that, and the other. And I didn't realize I was bragging. I was just kind of telling my mom these things. But her perspective was, she was lucky to have a house, right? And she said to me, she said, honey, you guys have such a great quality of life. And it takes me a minute to say this because I don't like saying it the wrong way. You have such a great quality of life. And I said, well, thanks, Mom. And I said, we just doing what we're doing. We're trying to keep the kids, going. And this was a big thing for Brian and I, because we both came from these really bad family situations, and we swore we would not have our kids be in that situation. So that was some of the propelling that was happening, is this is how we're going to drive ourselves, because our kids are not going to have be without, what we had. And that's what put me in the hustle too. And I slept on that, and I got downloaded. You know how we do subconsciously at night? I got downloaded. I woke up in the morning and I said, I don't want that. I don't want a quality life. What I want is a life of quality.
Ooh, that's so good.
And it's just a shift on words, right? Because quality life is keeping up with the Joneses, the Mont Blanc pen, the this, the that, the other. For me, it was like, no, I don't want that. I want a life of quality. And, I think that, so the first thing I learned is this moving the needle forward, not in my business, right? My decisions, my choices. Is this moving the needle forward on me pursuing a life of quality that is not consumed with money, that is consumed with memories, that is consumed with experiences, that is consumed with stories, right? That I'm slowing down enough, and I say this to my clients all the time, you have to slow down to speed up instead of speeding up to slow down, because that's the counterbalance there, right? But I'm slowing down enough to have an awareness of my surrounding, to put gratitude in, to be thankful, to not, comparison is the thief of joy. So I'll never succumb. By the way, you and I've seen each other a couple times, right? In person, we've seen each other. But you'll never see me wearing a designer anything. Because unless I bought it because I actually liked it. which most of the time I don't like, right? But you don't see me buying any designer thing because I'm not interested in keeping up with the Joneses. I'm not interested in putting on a facade of what everybody thinks I should be. You know, I've got a friend who, speaking of Mont Blanc, she won't sign anything. She won't write anything, even a little shopping list, without a Mont Blanc pen.
Oh,
Right?
really?
I will never sign a contract without using a high-end pen because it's a high-end contract. And I'm like, okay, you know, to each his own. It's all good for me, and she's wonderful. I love her to death. But just give me the 10-cent pen. It's a pen. Just let me write.
Just give it a signature. That's all.
Just give me the signature. Just give me a purse. And if I
Yep.
like the purse, just give me a pair of shoes. If I like the shoes, right? And give me a car if I like the car. I just, you know, I really started realizing that a life of quality wasn't about the things, it was about the things. The
Yeah,
things that happen in life,
yeah.
right?
I'm glad you're here in this conversation because um yeah, I was thinking about this topic and before we got on the call this morning. And it's so funny, you know, you always hear the confirmations, right? That's why you got to be present, y'all.
Yeah.
Because if you're present and you're in a thought and I didn't even say anything, and the stuff that you're saying, Jen, is like, wow, like I'm just in awe, right? You know,
Um,
the way how, and the reason why I'm bringing it to the forefront as well is because, you know, I was thinking about something this morning, and I'm sitting there and going, wow, we got to start reversing stuff. This is part of the myth that I want to debunk for people, right? We got to start thinking so that we see the patterns that are there that are not supporting us, right? That are not supporting
yeah,
us to help
yeah,
us to make the right decisions. So you talked about a life of quality versus the quality of life, and that's the illusion, right? That's the illusion
yeah.
of that you know. The quality of life, we're after a quality of life versus a life of quality. That's like mind blowing when you really think about it, right? Like you change the decisions that you make after understanding just that line. If you don't hear anything else after this
Yeah.
part of the conversation,
Yeah.
that's gold,
Thank
right?
you. Thank you. And by the way, I didn't do it. God did. I mean, really,
Absolutely.
that was a download of you don't have it right. You don't have it right, Jen.
Yeah.
You got to think this differently, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, this is what about core values, right? You and I talk about core
Yes.
values all the time. And it was really now I had to dig deep and go, okay, so what is this life of quality? What are those core values that I want to, you know, live by? And
Mhm.
because I had had so many times where I wasn't involved in family because I was chasing this quality life, you know, the keeping up with the Joneses and stuff, that I missed so many things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wasn't
Girl,
living in gratitude. I was living in the chase.
the
You know,
chase.
it wasn't, well, here, I'll give you two identities. I wasn't living in gratitude. I was living in greed
Mm, mm.
because that's the chase.
Yeah, that's so good.
Instead of
That's
just
so
taking a breath and stepping back and going, but I have a house.
yeah.
I have things. I have people who love me. I have
Mhm.
clients. I have skills,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Was there ever a time for you that you um you know you kept chasing the pressure to keep chasing? Um was there ever a time that you felt like that pressure is so high in your body, in your
Oh,
environment,
yeah.
your bank account just didn't match up to the chase that you were on? Was there a time like that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I think I see this in a lot of people that I know, right? Is that you have, so what you have is you have the chase on one side, right? The drive and the chase for whatever mechanism pushes you to do it. Whether, and for me, it was proving, right? I had to prove that I was better than my alcoholic father and my abusive mother, and we were poor, and I was called Jenny who ain't got a penny. So I had to prove I'm not that. I don't have to be that, right? Prove, 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 prove. That was my drive. Your drive may be totally different, right? It might be completely different. But the one thing I knew and know is when I drive, and because I do it intentionally, I know how to make money, right? But then on the flip side of this, people that are chasing these facades, they know how to spend money. So when you said, you're doing this drive and your bank account doesn't match, it matches for a blip of a second because it's already been spent. Drive, 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 so I can get more, 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 more. Drive, 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 so I can get more, 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 more. So it's like the up and then the down. And then I got to go up again, and then I got to go down again, right? And because you're spending the money to chase what everybody else has. And wow, I'll tell you what, I don't remember how much volume we were doing or money we were making or anything, but when I stopped pushing that down and I didn't need to buy all this stuff to prove anything, I could just drive to make money. And then one day we were just saving and saving and not spending and not spending. We're not consuming, right? We don't need to. We already had everything. We're not trying to prove to anybody. And we looked one day, and I think it was like in 4 or 5 months, or I don't know. I know it was under 8 months. We had saved $80,000, and we had savings in 401k and all that stuff, but we had never had ample cash in our bank. It would come in and go away, come in and go away. And we were like, what do we do? It's like $82,000. I remember it was so distinctly. How did we do that? And it was that we stopped consuming. And the consumption was not because I needed a new dishwasher or a whatever. It was because I wanted. Because it was a facade.
Yeah. I love that you brought that up because you reminded me of a conversation I had with my ex-husband, because I was making a ton of money. Was it 2000? When did the market come back? The market came back
2012, 2010,
12, right?
2012.
12.
Yeah.
That's the year that came. And I never stopped making money in real estate, like as agent and broker. But the one thing that I remembered, and this is such a myth, y'all, that's why I'm bringing it up, counterintuitive to what Jen just said, is he would always say, you gotta spend money to make money.
Right.
Yes, and but you gotta and it's a distinction between spending and investing, right? Because that's the shift in the mindset that happened.
And that's what we started doing with all that cash, right?
Exactly.
It's funny. You said you have to spend money to make money. In the context of what I was saying was probably, you could say this is, you have to spend money to show people that you make money.
Yes. In the context of the show.
Yeah.
How, you
show it off.
Show it off that you look successful when underneath it's not working.
Yeah.
So I want to go a little bit deeper in this conversation. Yeah. What mechanism, what tools, how did you stop that, performing for approval to show other people that you're successful and start leading?
Oh my God. Well, there's
it sounds like you and your husband were in alignment. That's number one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. There's so many things that are involved in that. As you know, I've told my story and I don't want to go into it here because I want to get to the meat of this, but my story of being at the restaurant and walking the concrete balance beam and feeling like I was never in the memories of my family. I was just constantly in the hustle. And my client was losing, I was losing, my family was losing. And that was the moment, right, that it changed. And so part of that change, and the great Les Brown says, if you're casual about your business will become a casualty. And I thought, well, that's stupid because, sorry, Les, But I thought, well, that's stupid because there's nothing casual about what I'm doing. I'm working 8 days a week, right? And I mean that, 8 days a week. And how do you work 8 days a week? Well, you work 7 days a week. And then while you're sleeping, you put a notepad by your bed and you lean over in the dark and you write on it. And you hope you can read the notes in the morning about what you didn't do or what you did, right? And I thought there's nothing casual about this business. But what I realized is that it was superficial business, right?
Mm.
Because I was in the hustle, it was a little of this, a little of that, goes shiny object. Oh, that's the magic bullet right there. Let me get that. And let me talk to them a little bit and then them a little bit next. And so that was the tipping point for me was that has to stop. I need my time back, right? I need some freedom. I need to breathe. And so, yes, my chest was constricted all the time. I barely ate, testy, working out didn't help. So I stopped because it wasn't going to help, right? It just made me more angry because now I'm thinking about something I need to do and I forgot to do it. And I shouldn't be working out. I should be working. And so that was the life of proving. I said, I'm going to stop proving and I'm going to start living. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to be intentional about what I do. And I'm still that way today. It's like, what's the one thing I can do today that will move the needle? And I can do 20 things that will move the needle, but I just need to do one instead of eating soup with a fork and doing all the junk, right? All the waste. And so this is what I help my clients with now is how do we eliminate waste of your time, waste of your money, waste of everything that you're doing, because it's not moving the needle on your business. And so people come and they're all stressed out. They're like, I can't believe it, because I want them to do some reports for me. I want them to do some work, right? To figure things out. I have a lot of plug and play to make it easier, but I am an empath, so I feel the restriction, the restricting in the chest, and I'm going, see what you're afraid to let go of what you think because everyone told you have to do.
Told you that exactly,
right? So there's this fear of letting go of, but if I don't do that, my business isn't going to be successful. And I always say, are you working really hard? Oh yeah. How's that working?
How's that working for you right now? Right?
It's not. It's not working. So the first thing I started doing was being intentional, and really assessing the people that I'm working with. Even, are they complimenting or complicating? Am I chasing or am I being chased? Are they committed? Are they not committed? What is the deal here? So I just started doing all these little comparisons, but then it drove me into my core values. Because I ask my clients, I could ask you, and I know you know yours, but you can ask yourself as you're watching this, what are your core values? And a lot of my clients will say to me, and they're looking for an answer.
Oh, right. It's fascinating.
And, they're going, oh, where's my call a friend, right? But they're looking for the answer. And then they come up with, usually this one comes up, family?
Question sign.
Is that a core value or is that a question? Because see, a core value is a principle that is non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable.
I started off with family, and now it is family, right? But I said family is one of my core values. Then I look in the mirror and say, so then why are you working till midnight?
Exactly.
Why are you sitting in front of your computer? I was telling my son this every time I talk to him, I'd see one of the kids run by and I go, your kids are growing up right behind you, not in front of your nose. That's the saying. My kids grew up right in front of my nose. No, they're growing up behind your back as you're sitting on these computers and you're latched to them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They're growing up right behind your back. So I started going, okay, what are the core values that really mean something to me? And if I'm going to have them be a core value and non-negotiable, a principle by which I live by, and that I make all my decisions by, then I have to put boundaries around them.
Absolutely.
Right. And Jim Rohn says, if you discipline yourself, no one else will.
Whoa.
No one else has to. No one else will try to. They don't get to because you're disciplining yourself.
Yeah, that's self-leadership.
You know what? Yeah. I would love to meet you tonight at 8:00, but I'm going to be with my family tonight. I would love to meet you at 8:00 tonight, but I've set an appointment for myself to get a massage because I need to go sharpen my axe so I can be better for you.
Yeah.
Right.
So powerful.
And
So powerful.
that's where it started. And so if you don't have your core values, the best way to start is start with the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it's so hard to go, oh, what do I like? I like hope, love, joy, charity. I like that stuff. It's so hard to figure it out. So figure out what you don't like. Do you like dishonest people?
Mm-hmm.
No, then honesty might be a core value. Start
Yeah.
with the opposite.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Process of elimination. And
You got to
it's
take the time to do it though, Jen. So let me just stick that in there in this part because
well, mhm.
it's it's easy. It's easy to do. It's easy to figure out. But first, you got to be committed to figuring it out. Number one, and number two, once you know it, then you got to keep practicing to build to unlearn how you've been before up until now,
Yeah,
and also
yeah,
give yourself grace because you're not gonna. It's something that you're gonna have to like I said, embody now once you figure it out, so
right,
that when you're making your decisions, it's from a different place. So
right.
you're not
Yeah,
trying to look successful. You're being successful
right. It's just natural.
within
You
your
just ooze. Yeah, you just ooze
yeah
with it.
yeah.
Yeah, so this isn't necessarily, although it can be, right? It's not necessarily something where you sit down and start going, hmm, right? It's not
Noticing
that.
it. Hmm.
Yeah, and that's why I said you got to slow down to speed up, right? You have
Yeah
to elevate yourself out of the hurricane so you can take a
yeah
look. You
yeah.
have to want to move from hustle into harmony. You have to make the decision to elevate yourself.
Hmm.
But hey, you can stay in hustle. That's fine. You can do all that hard work. Your life is, and this again, Les Brown says, if you do what's easy, your life's going to be hard.
Yeah.
But if you do it hard for a short period of time, your life is going to be easy. So it's like,
Again,
which one
so
is it, the blue pill or the red pill in the matrix?
the Matrix.
Right? I mean, it totally is that. So
Wait,
for
wait.
me,
Let
how
me
I
ask
did
you this.
it was,
Let me ask you
oh, go
this.
ahead.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you
Yeah,
this. You said Les Brown, because I wanna ask you a
I
question.
love him. Yeah.
Um, what do you think the impact of the coaching and personal development space? How has it contributed to this kind of pressure of looking successful, the high pressure of looking successful when you're really not? How do you think it's? What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I don't like it. I mean, as a faith-based person, it's a big problem for me. I mean, I have to just start there.
Okay.
Because, God didn't make us to be fake. He made us to, be in our own power. And that power doesn't come in a package of a $7,000 suit and 30,000 people in your audience. That comes in the power of how you treat the very next person you meet, right? And my father had taught me this. He goes, if you ever sit next to, or sit in front of the Pope or sit in front of a bum, you've got to treat him the same way, right? And so there are a lot of people that look very successful on the outside. You can choose, and I'm not talking. I won't say anything bad about our industry, right? But I will say something about Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
They look fantastic on the outside, but they have drug problems. They look fantastic on the outside and they have divorce. They have infidelity, right? They're robbing, cheating, and whatever. And what I find is that, and I don't mean this in the context of comparing any of my clients or any potential client to somebody in Hollywood, but looking good on the outside, looking very
Mhm. Did I lose her, or did she?
There we go. I don't know what happened. If that was
I
yours or
don't
mine,
know.
I'll just keep going. I'll just keep
Looking
going.
good on the outside was the last thing I heard.
Yeah,
So
they
keep
look
going.
good on the outside. They seem to be successful on the outside, or they are successful, right? There's money in the bank. They've got a great business going. They've got great employees, everything, but they're unsuccessful on the inside, right? They feel unsuccessful, and um, that's where they're not in harmony. They're still in that hustle, right? They're still in that
Yeah.
hustle. That's why they're not happy because they're still proving. I'm going to use the word proving, but they're still
Mhm.
proving to somebody. They're driven to have to show, people what they achieve. But what I was going to say was how I did this was I just started noticing little things. If I'm at the grocery store, this is how I found my core values. Aside from sitting down too, but I was at the grocery store and I noticed that the checkout person didn't bother to look at me, smile at me, nothing, right? And I thought, well, that's kind of rude. And I thought, well, I don't ever want to be like that. So, maybe I should put kindness in my core values, right? So it was every interaction I had was starting to develop thoughts around my core values. And I would just simply write it down. I didn't make a decision on it because I don't want you to choose 100 core values. You need to have 3 to 5, right? But so kindness is not a core value, but I know it's important to me, right? But I chose other things that were deeply rooted in what, if this didn't happen, then I would not feel like I left a great mark on the world.
Mm, yeah, yeah.
Go back to
Um,
that. So, yeah.
so I'm going to say it again because I think it's valid. The key to this whole process is to unlearn what you already know. And
Yeah.
that's the first thing, because you got to be willing to unlearn this stuff. It's all about awareness. I always talk about how the first step to transformation is awareness. Once you're aware,
Yeah.
you gotta be intentional about, okay, how am I showing up? Jen, not for nothing, most people would not have even noticed that the young lady didn't smile at you, much less have this internal dialogue in your head to say, I don't want to be like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this awareness piece, what we're talking about, really, you gotta be willing to become somebody else along the way of finding your authentic self. Because
Yeah.
looking like you're successful when you're miserable is not a life. It's not a life of quality nor a quality of life. That
Right.
is,
Right. It's just, yeah, it's
it's
just living for
neither.
other people. I mean, it ends up being living
Yeah.
for other people. And that's what I can't stand is, that, we're all like this. And I probably haven't, and I was going to tell you, I know I haven't gotten over this completely yet. Okay. But, caring what other people think, that people pleaser that was in me. I mean, that was part of my proving, was a people pleaser. And I hadn't gotten over that, and I'm just now getting to the point where I'm going, I'm learning. I've heard it 1,000 times that, as much as you worry about people, what are they going to think, what are they going to, who are you to be doing that, who are you? Even when I got knighted, like, look at her, I remember when she was, blah 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 blah. um that it's a reflection of their own insecurities,
Yep.
right?
Ain't
That's
about
number
you.
one. Yeah, it's a
Mhm.
reflection of their own insecurities there. But I also realize that everyone's thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about me. They aren't.
Absolutely.
And that's okay. But I've had to come to that realization. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying about this. So the second, I talked about core values. I had to slow down. Then I had to increase the awareness of what my core values were. I had to create boundaries around them. And then the other thing I had to do was I had to do some breakthrough work. And I will
Mhm.
tell you, I have a motto in my company: mindset plus mechanics equals momentum.
Mhm.
I in the hustle, you're mechanical. It's all mechanics. Every bit of it, mechanics, mechanics. Do this, practitioner, the work, the work, the work. It's not until you back up and you can open up your mind to um, really check, going deep and finding what are the hurdles, why are there DNA ingrained hurdles in all the challenges that you're experiencing in your business and in your life. And I knew I had hurdles with my family, but for me, I needed to do some breakthrough work to release it. So if God bless you, if you can do it on your own, I couldn't. And I was embarrassed.
I don't
I
think
was
that's
ashamed.
possible.
No, I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. And it took so much courage for me to open up to someone else about all the problems I had experienced and how because I didn't see that they were affecting me, but they
Hmm.
were reflecting off of me.
Hmm.
And so when I got that work done, I had a shell, I had armor. It's not even a shell. I had armor on me because I didn't want anybody to know. I mean, that's what we're talking about here, right? Is looking, right? I had this armor on me, and it's like, nobody's going to see what's behind here. I don't want people to know. And when I started poking holes in it, and I wouldn't take it off, I didn't hammer a big hole in it, I just poked little holes, little holes. I realized that and I say this to all of you, you're brilliant, and your
Yeah.
brilliance will shine through. And
Yeah.
a little itty bitty light, a pin needle light came through because I mean, I wasn't going to give up much, right? A little pin needle light came through. And guess what? It became a beacon for someone else who needed what I had. And
Yeah.
I thought, oh, well, I could poke another one. That didn't hurt, and this didn't hurt, and that didn't hurt. And they found out, and they still like me. And wow, this is cool, right? Till I got to the point where I could take it off.
Yeah.
Because 15 years ago, none of this conversation would have existed because I had not broken through even the restaurant, the hustle. I had not done any of that.
Hmm. So
And
do you think that, and I'm going to ask you one final question because when we talk, the time just goes like,
I know,
it's,
I know, I
and
know.
it's over. How are you maintaining this newness of awareness of yourself now? And you said you broke through the mask, right? You would start with the pinhole until it completely fell off. Do you think have you now arrived in this season? Do you feel like that, or is there more for you?
You mean more to that maybe I've got a little piece of one over here. um,
Did the
yeah,
whole
and you
mask
know
fall
what?
off?
Do you hear the hesitation?
Yeah.
The answer is yes. I think we're always working on it. And there is something that I'm not ready to tell the world that has happened in the last 2 weeks in my life. And I'm going to try not to get emotional about it. There's something that's happened in the last 2 weeks in my life that almost put the entire shell back on.
Mm.
And I corralled myself around my family, and I called my daughter because she's my best friend. And I said, I need you now because I'm about ready to put it back on. And she said, I'll be right there. I'll be right there for you, Mom. Don't go anywhere. Just I'll be right there. And she was on the other side going, no, no, giving me those words of affirmation, telling me it
Yeah.
wasn't my fault, all the things that I needed to hear. And I'm telling you, it was half back on again. And I thought, why? I've worked so hard. I've worked so hard for this.
Yeah.
And I needed someone else to help me pull it back off. So you can't do it alone. You just can't
Yeah.
do it alone. And
Yeah.
I realized that. And so I've got little specks of it around me right now.
Hmm.
My energy level. I've got some specks around me where I'm just now going, I don't know if I want the world to know this yet. Right? I'm not there. So I hope to get the courage in the next period of time. And I'm so thankful that I have the skills, and I went through to someone who does breakthrough work.
Yeah.
Um, because I'm not crying, I just have an itch. Um, that I went to someone who helped me through that breakthrough work because I had the framework. I could go back and work on it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I could dig in. I had a priest, right? I had my priest that I love so much, and I called him and said, help me with this, help me with this, help me with this. And I think I'm going to be just fine, but I
Yeah.
have moments. I have
Well,
moments where I'm not.
well, first of all, thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that with us. And
Yeah,
that, what I heard
that's part
is
of
this
healing.
is a journey, y'all. It's not a
Yeah,
one and done.
not.
This is, as we step into mastery of who we actually are, this is the journey, and
Yeah,
life is still happening. You're being centered as a master, but life is still happening. Everybody else is still like where you were, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
so thank you for being so vulnerable to share that. And the other thing I heard is that you were able to um, go to your circle for the
yeah,
support,
yeah,
and that's even more powerful. So here's what she's saying, y'all. You gotta find the right people who
hmm,
hold you at such a high standard that they don't leave you to be in the old mess that you were. It's powerful. Find the right people to be around you so that
yeah,
when stuff happens, because it's not a one and done. I want you to hear that
yeah,
clearly. It's not a
yeah.
one and done. Transformation is transformation in my world it's really remembering who you've been all this time. You just forgot,
Yeah.
right? So
It's
you
like
have
the
the
drug person, the person who's on drugs and went to rehab and then they get back in, and the person who's an
yes,
alcoholic, right? And then they got that one whiff of an alcohol and they're back in again,
yeah,
and for me, it's a different type of trauma, right?
yeah,
It's a trauma that I experienced as a child that's revealed itself again. I
yeah,
thought Jenny, who ain't got a penny, was gone, but
yeah,
she came back in the last couple of weeks,
yeah, yeah. And you're
right?
powerful. So I know you're gonna be good. You're
I'm
gonna
going
be
to be
good.
fine. I'm going to be fine. Hey, listen, and I'm telling you, I am loaded with um, reading and
Tools.
affirmations and
Yeah.
the tools around me too to remind me. You and I had a conversation a couple weeks ago, and I got off and I was doing some reading, and I sent you a picture of it, and I said, "We were just talking about this. We were just talking about this." And I
Yeah.
just opened up this and I read it, and look at, you got to see what I just read, some scripture. It was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. It was amazing.
Amazing.
Confirmation that this is God within
Yeah.
us, right?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So I hope this was supportive for y'all.
I hope so
Go
too.
back and listen. I always tell them, right? Make sure you listen to this twice because there's so much gold in these conversations. If you're
Yeah.
really listening, we try to make it as plain as possible, but sometimes because I'm Jamaican, I talk fast, and Jen, she talks fast anyway. So just go back and listen
Yeah.
to the replay and make notes and start using this as a tool for yourself, right? I don't care how successful you are, you need this, okay?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
You
Jen,
absolutely. Yeah.
I want you to, because we're just about out of time, I want you to share with the audience briefly about what you're up to and how they can reach you to stay connected.
Well, thank you. That's so great, Lorna. I love you, by the way. I just think you're adorable. And we just have such a kindredship, and I know that we'll have it for a really long time. So, and what I love about you is that we both come from I come from financial service, real estate, but there's a financial aspect. It's all about wealth creation for clients. And so we've got this hard part of us as women in
Yeah,
business, but
yeah,
then we both are thriving for the softness of being a woman, the softness of being a good human being. And I just love that combination that we both have, because we know when we can go shut up, and we know when you say, I love you. And, I just love it. So thank you for what you're doing and what you're sharing for your community as well. I really appreciate that. You're just awesome.
thank
Yeah, so I'm up to a whole bunch of stuff. I coach people on, get out of the hustle and get into the harmony. Don't be working in and on your business. Start living above and beyond your business. But it's all about business. So if you have a second career and you have all these beautiful skills and expertise and clarity and all that you brought into this entrepreneur world, and you're doubting yourself, just know that you have support. There are people here to support you. And to go back to what we were just talking about in the scripture piece, what I read is to dig your foundation really, really deep so that you can go really, really high.
yeah,
And God wants us to do that, right? And so often when we move move into that second career, as an entrepreneur, we bring this beautiful box of gold that we have, and then we try to build a stick house with everything that all the gurus are telling us that we have to do. We have to work hard, and we have to buy these shiny things and all these things. And I'm saying, don't do that. Keep yourself slowed down to speed up, aware, dig deep, do the hard work for a short period of time so you can go as high as you want to go. So that's what I do. I coach businesses that are starting out and businesses that are already successful on the outside, but don't feel like they're successful on the inside because they're still latching on to every bit of that business. And I want to
Yeah.
give them that freedom. So I have a Hustle to Harmony masterclass I'm going to be doing in a couple of weeks. I'll send the well, actually you already have your link. You have the link, so you can put that in there if you want to come to that masterclass where we're going to dig deep on some of the strategies. And then I just developed a new program for podcast guesting. So I'm starting a movement, and I can't even believe I'm saying that word because I always hear movement, and I'm like, movement, schmovement, right? Right? And now I'm in it.
Yeah, right. Because
I got
the success code Fireside Chats is a movement. This is girl line. It's not even funny.
So,
I
so
thought
I
the
put
same thing.
together a certified professional podcast guest designation so that when podcast hosts, if you want to expand your business, so when podcast hosts see this certification, they know that you've been through my training and that you're going to be a fantastic guest, that you're going to be there to monetize for yourself, right? So it's all about the monetization. And I don't want to coach hosts. I want to coach the guests. So it's just a little piggyback onto my regular, business amplification. And so we're excited about that. So we have some charter members that we're going to give a super like 75% off.
Wow, that's a gift.
For the first 20 or 30 people that come into this program, because I want to get this message out. I want to get it started, and I want to create this movement that if you don't have a certification, they shouldn't bring you on the show.
Okay.
I'm sorry for you if you don't want to get one. Sorry, but yeah, I'm starting it. I know I feel bad, but I do feel that it's just like you have a license to be a real estate agent. You got to have a renewal every year, and it demonstrates your willingness to put forward in your professional life, right? It would be the same thing for a podcast guest, and I want them to be
Yeah.
seen as professionals, make money from being a podcast guest, and not just getting exposure.
Yeah.
So those are the
That's
things.
great. I love
And
that.
we're going to Hawaii for a couple of weeks with all the kids this year. So that's what we're up to.
That's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. That's an amazing offer.
Yeah,
Just remind me again because I want to send that to a bunch of speakers that I know.
I
All
will.
right, so y'all have been amazing. She's been an amazing guest today. I just love having these conversations with Jen. And like I said, if you watch, I saw a couple of people pop on here, but I don't know who is on YouTube, so I can't see that. But if you are on the replay, just make sure again, watch this twice because she dropped a lot of gems in here. Before we sign off today, I want to remind you to like, subscribe, and share because somebody else out there needs to hear this.
Oh,
There could
amen.
be one
Yeah.
person that you could make a difference for just by sharing this recording, just by sharing this conversation. So like, subscribe, and share with your friends and family, and come on with us live next week. We're here every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. And before we log out, I want to invite you to my masterclass on May 28th at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. And here's the thing, guys. A lot of the things that we talked about in here today, that's going to be handled in the masterclass. So if you really want to know what your core values are, if you really want to know what the next right step is for you, if you want to step out of the noise and step into peace and make decisions from choice, then you get to be in the masterclass. It's not I have to. You get to. Because if you are up to change, if you are up to transformation, if you are up to creating your own movement in your own life, then this is it. This is time. So thank you, Lady Jen, for being here.
Thank
You're
you,
amazing.
everybody.
I appreciate you. And we'll see you next week, y'all. Happy Saturday.
Happy Mother's Day.
And happy Mother's Day. Yes.